My neighbor is a murderer and now I can finally prove it. I moved into this house about 4 years ago. It's a small town in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. My apartment complex has 8 identical townhomes and they look identical. If you've ever played The Sims, it's almost like he copy and pasted every single house. Now, I loved my apartment. I was borderline obsessed with it. And it wasn't an insanely nice place or anything, but it was perfect for me. Now, on the day I was moving in, some of the neighbors came out and started greeting me. Just like a nice neighborly welcome. My mom had come with me to help me unpack and she asked one of the girls, "Do you like living here?" Which I feel like a little late to ask that, mom, but okay. The girl responded and said everyone was pretty normal, it was nice, and it was quiet, except this one neighbor, who of course happened to be my next door neighbor. He rarely came out of his apartment ever, she said, and he always kept his blinds down. But at first I found that I liked my neighbor. He was quiet, he kept to himself, and he didn't cause any problems. But the neighbor across the street was a whole nother story. Like I said, all of these houses were like Sims houses, copy and pasted. My front window where I could see out and wash my dishes from my sink faced someone else's front window where they would wash dishes from their sink. Now, I had met the guy across the street on the first day when I moved in. He seemed nice enough, even borderline charming. Now, I'm not saying I creeped on my neighbor, but I kind of creeped on my neighbor. So I started to recognize his routine based on when his light was on in his kitchen window, which I guess sounds creepy when I say it out loud. Anyways, his light was always off during the day and then on during odd hours at night, like 1 a.m., 4 a.m., 3 a.m. And I'm a night owl myself, so I always noticed when it popped on. But I always joked that this guy could have been a vampire or something because only his kitchen light was ever on. Every other light was always off. It started to become an ongoing joke of me and my friends guessing what he did for a living because he was never out. I never saw anyone come and go from his house. And I mean like ever. One of my friends was like, "He's clearly a serial killer." And I'm like, haha, very funny. But then things started to take a really weird turn. After living there for about 8 months, I finally saw him. Well, the other night it was really nice out, so I decided to sit outside on my porch, which is honestly not something I do often. I did have my dog outside sitting with me, so I felt a little bit safer. But it was a quiet night. It was a full moon, and then my dog started growling, but I wasn't sure what he was growling at. And then I hear a voice say, "I didn't know you had a dog." To which I look over and it's the cross the street neighbor. I was just in shock. I couldn't say anything immediately. So then he says, "So what are you doing out?" Pause. Was this man watching me as much as I was watching him? Could he really be a vampire or a serial killer? I'm honestly not sure which would be worse. Then he just left and went back to his house. Twice I've seen this man in what, 9 months? So then my friend suggested that I Google him. And everything's online these days. When I tell you me and my friends can find anyone on social media, I mean anyone. We could not find this man. So the group chat started speculating, could this man actually be a serial killer? Is he on the run? And boy, did we find our answers. So me and my friends started doing surveillance. And I started to notice him at night more frequently. And I even saw what kind of car he drove, which was a black van. Perfect for putting bodies in. And then I noticed on trash days, instead of bringing trash out, he was bringing big bags of something inside. Like, I don't know, bones, body parts. I knew it was only a matter of time before I caught him red-handed. And then a few nights ago, I saw him. And he wasn't alone. He had come home at 2 a.m. and a girl got out of his passenger seat. Now, I know what you're thinking. Charming young man brings a girl home. Totally normal. Totally normal. But he never turned any of his lights on in his home. And I never saw the girl leave. I did only stay up like an hour after because I got tired and I decided to go to bed. But it's not like she would leave at like 3 a.m. So I got up at 6 a.m. and I didn't see her leave the whole day. And this wasn't the first or last girl to show up at his house. But I never saw any of them leave. He would also bring weird tools into his house, like shovels. Who needs more than one shovel? All I know is I'm pretty sure one night he saw me watching him. And the next day, a moving truck was sitting in front of his house and he moved away. I still don't know this guy's name. He doesn't have any social media. He could be America's most wanted.